Howdy, folks. Greyhawk 4x4 coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer. And it is the campaign update time of the week. Once again, we are playing in the Dolmenwood as our setting. We are using the Old School Essentials rule set for our rules and supporting rules out of the Nerovia stuff from Edward Green. So, if you are not caught up, there is a playlist. You can go back, get yourself caught up, and then come back here. So, where we left off, our group, me included, we were lost. We were out in the woods, and it had become apparent to us that we were completely off base of where we thought we were supposed to be. And that's where we left off. So we start up again this past Friday. And so now we know, okay, we're lost. We got to try and get back on track. We go the direction that we think we're supposed to be going. We go for a while. And then all of a sudden, because I'm playing an investigator, I'm allowed to do a perception check or something like that. And it is described to me that my character sees a tree and says, we have passed this tree before. So now we think, okay, we've gone in a circle. We don't know how long it's been, but we're pretty sure we've gone in a circle. So we're hopelessly lost at this point. We do not have a ranger in the party. So at this point, our moss dwarf character, played by Stesha, the character's name is Smodry. Smodry decides, well, we'll start marking trees so that, if we see a mark, we know, okay, we've been here before, and hopefully that'll help us somehow in navigation. Sound plan. So she starts carving into this tree to mark it, and, of course, roll for initiative. The trees animate, come to life. And, of course, they start attacking us because technically we're attacking it because we're carving into it. So we start fighting against these tree things. They're not necessarily Trents, but the trees are attacking us. And then little mini tree creatures come out of the trees that are called bramblings. And they start attacking us. So we're fighting the trees and these little brambling dudes and all this. And at some point in this combat, for the lack of a better term, I have written down wood dude. But it was like a nature person appears and has a calming effect over the trees and all that and so forth. And the moss dwarf starts pleading her case, saying, "Oh, I'm sorry. We weren't trying to harm them. We were just trying to use it for navigation. We're just carving in because we're lost." And upon hearing the word "lost," this wood dude, nature being or whatever, does something and says, in a very obvious way, the way it was described to us, that he was casting some type of spell of the power word variety, and he says, "lost." And everything changes. He disappears, and we're like, okay, what the hell just happened? He just cast some kind of power word spell, and things are now different. There's thick walls of vines and trees and everything on both sides of us that look impassable now, like we're only on a path that we can go one direction. So we know something has happened. The other trees stopped attacking us, the bramblings went away and all that, but everything's different now. So, and if I remember correctly, the ambient lighting even changed. We can see, but doesn't seem like from a natural light, let's say. So we start continuing on, and then just as we just start to continue, trying to figure out what we're going to do, like, basically, let's go this way and try and figure out what we're going to do, we see two elves, obvious elf creatures, ahead of us. They were described to us as blue elves. They were blue-skinned elves with silver hair. And they're conversing. Now, if I remember correctly, there's only one person in the party that can understand Elvish, and that's the magic user. But the two elves are described to us. One's name is Sorrow of Mourning, and the other one is Ancient of Rhyme. That's their names. And they're having a conversation about something about that they're going to have to try and attack something or whatever. And they're having a little bit of a disagreement or whatever. The magic user decides to make himself known, speaking in Elvish, saying he's not there to harm them, we're not there to harm them, or whatever. And they go to attack. But he uses his amulet. The amulet that I've spoken of before in this series, that was given to him way back when we first did a one-shot in this game world, way back. Our initial characters were his magic user, and my first character, Eintz, and then Randy Midnight and everything. And then, Randy Midnight's gone, my first character's gone, Stesh's first character's gone. So there's been a lot of changes and everything, but his character is Brahm, is the only one that's still around, and he's got this pendant that he got as a reward for that first quest that we did, and he got it from an Elvis. Wouldn't that be awesome if he got it from an Elvis? He got it from an Elvis impersonator. He got it from an Elvish priestess, or princess, or queen, something of that. I can't remember her exact title, but she was the one that sent us on the quest, and that was her reward, and was this pendant or whatever that he carries. It's also the same one that when he was on his quest before, he would throw it up in the air and it would point in the direction that we're supposed to go. And he's been trying to use that here, but it doesn't, it lays sideways, like, so it doesn't give us any kind of a reading. It needs to be this way and then pointing, but it's like laying sideways, so it won't tell us anything, like it doesn't know which direction or whatever. But regardless, he shows this to them, and he explains how he got it and all that. And so they recognize him as a chosen one of the queen. So they swear their fealty to him, because they say that they've been stuck there for like thousands of years in this thing that we're in now. And they've been trying to get out, and lack of any other leadership, they're going to be his servants now, because he is chosen by the queen by that pendant. So that makes him the one that they need to serve. So now we have these two Elvish-like fighters helping, like his bodyguards type. So at least we have that going for us. So we continue on, and we come to a clearing. Everything is set up now where everything's impassable, but you get to these clearings, and we get to a clearing, and we see there's like these owls flying around and stuff, and they're carrying something. And we also see these headless guys, like humanoids, running around without their heads, which we've encountered before way back. We encountered one dude like that who did not have his head, and their heads are literally buckets. They're like a clay pot that they use as a head, but if they get separated from it, then they just start attacking at random anything, because they don't have their head. You get their head back on them. We know this from the time before. You reunite them with their head, and then they go passive, and then they're no longer aggressive or whatever. But it's apparent that these owls have their heads. The owls are basically playing keep away from them, and so they're in a frantic thing. I have written down that those things were called scrabies or something like that. or pothead. I have a couple different things written down. I'm not sure which one's which, but, and I wish I had a picture of one here to show you. But, and I might have one. Let me see here if I can find one here. And the Dolmenwood stuff here. See if I can find a picture of that guy. Because we have encountered one before. And then the other time when we rescued that dude and got him reunited with his head, he rewarded us with pie. It's a weird thing, but the Dolmenwood is weird. So, see if there's any kind of like classes, appendices. No, I don't see any pictures in here, but you'll take my word for it. That's what they are. So it becomes apparent. So they start attacking us, these headless things. But we know we've got to get the owls to drop their heads. And so we start, through trial and tribulation, the owls start to drop them. And, but we're having to fight to keep, because they're going to kill us if we don't fight them. So we're fighting them. Somebody kills one of them, and as it does, the room gets smaller. So there's 4 of them. One of them gets killed, the room goes smaller. So meanwhile, we're trying to get these heads to get them back on their bodies from the owls. Combat is still going on. It's very, very hectic. A second one gets killed, the room gets smaller even more. Bottom line is we get heads back on them and everything, but it's on the last one, we get the head back on him. The rest of them are killed, and the room gets really small, but there's only one left. The last one gets all pissed and everything because we killed all of his friends, but we've saved him and gave him his head back and everything. And he runs to one of the walls, and a portal opens up, and he escapes. And he's gone. And that's the end of that encounter. Now, once that happens, then two new hallways open out of this clearing. It's almost like these are a series of tests that we have to pass. So we move on to the next clearing, and there is an old woman who has only one eye. The other eye has been ripped out, it looks like. And then she takes us to her family, which is another woman with 2 kids, a younger woman. So it's her daughter and her daughter's kids, so her grandkids. So there's 4 of them there. They're all missing one eye. And they say that they've been there for, I forget how long they said they'd been there. 4 months or so. They'd been there for an extended period of time. Not like the elves who've been there for hundreds of years or thousands of years or whatever it was. But then they mentioned to us that they're missing their blanket. And it's very cold. And they need their special blanket to stay warm because it's the only thing they have. But it makes it sound, the way it's described to us by the DM, that it's more significant than just a actual blanket. And they keep saying about how they need it and everything. So we go the opposite direction. So we found them, and then we go in the opposite direction, the only other way to go. Because we're figuring, well, we're going to go try and find their blanket. Because maybe that's a test that we have to do to get out of here. You know, another test. So we go through, and we come out to a room or a new clearing that has like a rope bridge, series of rope bridges to platforms. And they're going up gradually. So each platform's higher than the next. And it goes all the way over, you know, to where it's almost 40 feet off the ground. And so we realize, okay, we've probably got to cross this thing. So we start crossing it or whatever. And it's real rickety and all that. And we have to make checks, you know, make sure we don't fall and all that, dexterity checks and all that. And at some point, it's because I'm taking the lead on this. My investigator's taking the lead. It's told him that he can see on the farthest away platform, the highest one also. He can see what looks like a blanket flapping in the wind there, like hung up on the rope. So my character, I had to make the decision. My character is going to make a full-blown sprint to try and get to that, because I'm realizing this has got to be some kind of test. So the only way to pass this test is to get that damn blanket. So my character hauls ass and starts going. And as he's going, he has to make a few checks. He has to make some dexterity checks. There's a plank that goes, and I make them, luckily. I'm making my saves. A plank goes down, but I make it across. I make it to another platform. I get past that platform, and then an air elemental shows up. And I tell the DM, as soon as he describes, there's an air elemental basically in front of you now. And I, without hesitation, I said, I'm going to blow right through it, or right past it, as fast as I can, try and just get past it before it can even, recognize what's going on or whatever. And I do that. I have to make a save, and then it tries to attack me. It misses, and I manage to get past it. And now I'm running up to the last platform where that stupid blanket thing is, and this air elemental is chasing me. So, meanwhile, something else, I can't remember what it was. Was it eagles? It was some flying critters start attacking everybody behind me. They're fighting I can't remember what the hell, did I write it down? I did not write it down, because I was worried about this air elemental and everything, and they were dealing with whatever these flying, I can't remember what the hell, some type of flying critters are attacking them. So they're having trouble coming to back me up, because they're having to deal with this. So they're dealing with that as I'm trying to run, and so I'm hauling ass to get to that blanket. While this is all going on, the DM has put a 4-sided die on the table, and he starts it at 4, and from the time I started my full-on sprint, he says, you've got 4 turns, basically. He starts using that as a turn-down die before that blanket is going to be gone in the wind. That's another reason why I was hauling ass. And so I've got the air elemental chasing me. They're fighting flying things on the bridges, by the way, on these rope bridges. So it's precarious. It's a timed thing. There's a turn down for rounds on this die. I'm hauling ass up to that last platform, and it's the last possible round for me to do it. So I make every fucking roll that I had to make somehow. And I get to that platform, and as the air elemental is trying to attack me, just as I'm trying to leap and grab that blanket. And I described to the DM, I said, I'm going to grab it, and in one motion, I'm diving, grabbing, turning, and basically covering myself with that blanket. Basically landing on my back as I'm covering with this, and hopefully it's like some kind of, I have no idea what it's going to do. I'm just hoping somehow it's a magical item, and maybe it'll protect me. I have no idea. So I do that. I dive, grab, turn, and now I've got it over me to try and protect me. It is not a magic item that I can use or anything. But he says as I grab it, I can feel that there's something inside. And there's some type of staff with something on the end of it or whatever. And so on my next round, now while all this is going on, they're fighting the flying critters. And they're doing a hell of a job, if I remember correctly. So then, in my next round, I say, okay, I'm going to stand up. And I've got this staff thing. And I'm going to try and attack it with the staff. Hoping it's made me magical or whatever. Turns out it's got like a lantern on the end of it. And I'm not doing much damage or whatever. I think I did do a little damage to it or whatever. And I'm fighting this elemental. And I'm taking damage and everything. But I'm not dead yet. I'm not down. And the magic user, played by Niels, I can't remember if it was his idea or another person in the party. He's trying to hit the elemental from where they are to try and help me. He's trying to attack it with, I can't remember if it was magic missiles or some spell. And it might have been a fire-based spell, because at some point somebody says, light the lantern, because I have the lantern on the end of this damn staff. And so another round goes, we're still combating. I did some more damage, I think. And he says, he says, I'm targeting the lantern. And he uses the fire. He rolls, and it lights the lantern. And the lantern makes the elemental like back off. Like it's not stunned. Maybe stunn's the right word. I don't know. But it causes it to pause and everything, and gives enough time for them from there. He uses another spell, or somebody does, or shoots it with arrows. Bottom line is, they're able to, between me and them, we're able to kill the air elemental. And so they've killed the birds or whatever it was. We've taken out the elemental. We've got the blanket and this staff with this lantern thing on it. And we decide, okay, we've got to get back and get this to those people, because this is the test, right? So we make it back, give them the blanket and everything, and it turns out it's a tapestry. It's a giant, like a huge tapestry, and it's basically been woven over the generations, the generations of their family. And it actually, if you want to read the tapestry the way the DM says it is, it'll tell their family history through the tapestry. But we give it back to them, and they're so thankful, and goodness gracious, thank you so much, and all that. And a portal opens for them, and they leave. So that was a test. So now we've figured out each entity is trapped in where we are now, has some type of key to get the hell out. We don't know what our key is yet. Our group. We don't know. We have no idea. We don't know what the elves' key is. They're stuck here. We don't know what their key is that we've got to find for them to get out. Maybe they can get out with us. I don't know. So we now know we're stuck. We've got two groups to go through portals because we got them their keys. The pothead dudes got them their heads. That was their key to get out. This family, their tapestry was their key, and that's where we stopped. That is the campaign update. It was wild. It was crazy. But it was a lot of fun because we got a lot of stuff done. So now it's a matter of, we're going to have to continue through, and I can't remember when their portal opened. I don't remember for sure, but I'm almost certain another path opened for us to go to, as it would, as the pattern has been, that there would be a new path that would open for us to go down. I think it did, but I can't remember 100%. But anyway, that's where we stopped. So anyway, that is the campaign update. It was a long one, 23 minutes. Sorry it went so long, but there was a lot that happened. So until next time, folks, we will catch you on the flip side.